coming into this one, what do you want to see differently here from EDG?
If you're playing heavily towards bot side, either allow a better side lane matchup for the Jax, which is not the easiest into the Renekton in terms of actually taking turrets. We saw it was not getting the most value out of it. Or you pick something which can at least engage in team fights. I don't care if it's a Gnar or a Malphite or something like that. The Jax was not able to team fight. And as we go into the second game, that's exactly what they've done. They say, all right, okay, sorry, Ali buddy, you're on the Ornn. At least you got your ult button to bring into the fights.
Big team fight ultimates already coming in here from EDG. They are going to be on the blue, LNG on the red. And ooh, is there a Blitzcrank hook? Ooh, is there a Blitzcrank hook? Ooh, is there a Blitzcrank hook? He sees him. He knows somebody's there. And he catches him. The knock up and everything. But Ala will flash away and get himself out. That was so close there from being disaster. They put Ala on tank duty and he's already got himself no flash.
The all good thing is that you use your Ignite for it, and that's basically all you've got. You don't end up getting extra value out of taking him down to like 10% HP. Still going back to base, he's still going to walk up towards that top side. So LNG not able to get the most value out of the Blitzcrank hook, but it is still a win. It's still something. No Ignite for laning phase though. Let's see if Uzi and Meiko can make use of that.
It kind of sets the tone really, doesn't it, for this game? You kind of feel like for Ala on the top side. Yes, he hasn't got his flash. It's not the most impactful thing to lose in the world, if I'm being totally honest. He's still an Ornn. He still will do exceptionally well later on, but definitely starts to make you feel a little bit scary, a little bit kind of like, oh God, where is EDG going with this one here? But great here from LNG to recognize, you know what? We have the oldest trick in the book, but it's still a trick, and we gotta go for it. Throwing out that hook is such a low risk, high reward, and it's awesome to see from them.
There are definitely some things where, in League of Legends, we love to talk about mind games and saying, oh, but we know that you're rotating here. At the end of the day, if it's even if you know something is effective, it doesn't always mean that you have a great answer to it. You can't always mind game your way out of them hitting a skill shot, which is kind of big.
The mind games within mind games. You know, do you know that I know that they know? It's all those different little things, you know, so crazy it just might work. But at the end of it all, it is just kind of a little bit of a shaky start here for EDG. I will say, Ala will probably get his flashback before any kind of impactful, meaningful thing happens. I will say as well for LNG, getting themselves onto the Maokai here for the second game. Tarzan famously did, like, I think it was like, wasn't it close to like 8,000 or 9,000? Yeah, there we go. 9,000 damage on this champion back when it was super busted in spring with the full AP. Curious to see which kind of build he goes with right now. Has got the blue smite, as we've been seeing. Actually, Maokai probably the most versatile when it comes to the smite pickups.
I remember it being into a Samira, which makes me think it was LNG OMG, because Abel is a huge Samira player. But he had like
he is our only Samira player.
2 4-man brush saplings when it was like full Maokai AP power. Which, I mean, anyone who played ARAM up until that point would have told you the horrors which that build has wrought upon that game mode. Scout, though, on this Jace, also one of the best Jaces in the league as well. LNG were one of the teams which really prioritize having the Maokai Jace combination. The idea is that Maokai plays defensive for the Jace. As soon as anyone looks to engage onto them, you just... I can hear you, so I really hope
I don't know if you can hear me or if I'm even coming out on stream.
I mean, I can, buddy, I can hear you. That's fine. Until you hear me, I'm just gonna keep talking and hope it works out. But Scout,
there I am.
Having that.
Here I am. So sorry, I'm having a lot of internet issues today. The trials and tribulations of at-home broadcasting.
Do you want to see Scout have some
keeps
issues?
Everyone on their toes.
Jiejie's here. There's a chance there's a gank in this mid lane. But as we were saying, Tarzan and Scout love this combo and love having the Maokai play defensive for the Jace. It buys you a lot of space. Later into the game, you throw out that Nature's Grasp, and it allows you to buy another Shock Blast worth of time.
Let's see what I want to go for. Again, Jiejie still trying to be very aggressive with this Viego. Is sitting on Vision on this recall, so we'll see him right now. Bit unfortunate there for the EDG jungler. Go back in and see where they can kind of make this one work. Again, very slow start right now. And it does feel like Uzi is going towards the Aphelios. Don't get me wrong. Every AD carry in the world does seem to be going towards it. But haven't really seen much else from... well, I say that's a lie because we did see the Lucian, which was exceptional, which I imagine is consistently banned against him. But the Aphelios does feel like it takes a little bit of time. Your positioning is very important in these fights. And although Uzi is still an exceptional laner, you just throw everything at him. And there's a lot more you can throw at him than before. Definitely feels like you can kill the puppy.
Scout doing a good job in this mid lane, talking of laning phase as well. Soaking up a bit of pressure earlier with Jiejie looking towards his lane. Not the most, obviously. But Scout, again, one of our real best Jaces in the LPL. It feels like him, maybe some like UCal, Knight and Rookie, of course. Always at the top of that kind of list too. that this Jace gives you more of that range advantage, which LNG were playing around in that first game. Of course, Aphelios does slightly outrange Xayah when the Xayah's not going backwards. The feathers give you artificial range because those feathers really hurt when you walk into them. So, with that in mind, EDG really need to be aware of their engage options. It is all on Ala reaching that backline, trying to catch someone out on the flank, if at all possible.
Well, Tarzan is around here. Maybe they go for a flash hook, flash knock up onto Uzi. That looks like it's going to be the play. They just spot him out, but maybe a little bit too little too late. Flash. Nicely done there by the supports. They are going to try to trade this one back very healthily, though, because Uzi was not the target, and he feels emboldened to take a much more favorable trade.
Okay, so Hex Flash obviously there for the Blitzcrank. No flash on the Milio. This has been an answer to the Milio. We saw, I'm trying to remember, it was LGD did this against JDG in their first game victory against them in their series. One of the things we have praised LGD for is their first game plans. This is a plan which the rest of the LPL is starting to pick up too. You let the Milio go through, and much like Peak Yumi or the other Peak Enchanter metas, you can just hook the support, especially without that flash, becomes a very important play path to use.
Still have the Hex Flash for the Blitzcrank as well. Very important to keep note of. This time around, EDG kind of keeping themselves in tow and having 100% dragon kill participation in this game, as FoFo might be getting caught out here a little bit. We are not going to have the hook land. Hong thought about it, but definitely a wise decision maybe not to go over that wall completely, because he probably would have gotten 100-0 by the Nico.
I was about to say, ultimates there. Pop Blossom does so much work. And FoFo, of course, getting hands on this champion, which has been very high presence in the LPL as well. All of our mid laners loving to play this one. I was hoping we might see a bit of it jungle or top lane. I feel like Nico still has that versatility. No one's really experimented with that much. Not that there's been much opportunity to work with it in experimentation because it's always banned, but still, once again in the mid lane.
Jiejie coming down the spot side. Knows his award there. Just going to try and clear it off for his bot lane. This is the thing. Without having a flash on your support, like you mentioned earlier on, this Milio becomes very, very vulnerable. Very much a target on his back should he get caught out in the next minute or two before his flash does come up. But for the moment, EDG happy the way things going. Ala happy to know that his flash is back up and available for him, despite him getting caught out a little bit. There is a good hook straight onto Uzi. He just didn't respect the feathers. Will actually try and turn this one back. Has got the red and white for the moment. Tarzan not level 6 though, but there's a Jace coming in off the side. This could be an accelerated shock blast to try and catch him out, but he guesses incorrectly. It lands on the Meiko. He doesn't know that it was Meiko he hit, and that's why he went chasing on the turret. He thought maybe it was enough of a help bar from Uzi, but Uzi just not respect that one, and they know you're in that brush. You need to leave. Ooh, Meiko has to tank that one up for his AD carry. And look at the presence that LNG are putting in this bot side. Scout could go again. He's got an acceleration gate again.
Timing the minion wave, trying to fire it out. He stops this bash. Oh, that is so disgusting.
He's dead. He's dead. And as I say that, just patience and perseverance coming in here. There's even an Amalkai ultimate there. Well, it's not only just a kill. Look at the bot lane farm that's being eaten up by this turret. They're going to lose 2-3 waves now off of just 4 people stacking a bot side, and EDG didn't really have a response.
That is exactly the most important thing about that play. The kill is almost a bonus. You're looking to delay the recalls long enough that Uzi doesn't get any waves and loses a lot of plates on this bot side tower. That's 2 waves now lost to that bot turret rather than just the one involved. Loses all of his summoners too. That was happening before that point. Scout at least manages to pick up the kill gold. The awkward thing for Scout is, of course, the Nico of FoFo manages to get a turret plate and some waves into turret in the mid lane, but still getting leads away from this Aphelios. Very important, given how central Aphelios is to the team composition of EDG.
And then we come back in. I realize I can't really let that one sit for too long, because you might think I DC again. So, again, just not recognizing the little feathers that are coming down.
Sometimes we DC into Xayah feathers as well. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Uzi just caught out on the wave. I was really surprised to see him get him caught out in that position, given, you know, he could have just walked behind the minions to escape that Blitzcrank hook. Some momentary misplay, though. Micro not working in the favor of
He just goes behind the turret. He's fine. Like, it's the fact that he keeps trying to recall. He keeps trying to get the cheeky one off, but it's like, just go back. Just walk. And you should be fine, but just does not respect the fact that Scout is around.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, the way that the body language was positioning, because the Meiko ult was thrown out a little after, I wonder if EDG, rather LNG, thought that Jiejie was heading down bot side. Of course, he went up towards that Herald. Does pick that one up at least. Gold lead, actually, on the whole, going still very even. I think the gold earned by FoFo in that mid lane just about evens out the play towards the bot side. However, with AD carries having an advantage, we just know how important that is in the current meta.
Level 6 is being hit now across the board. Still sort of waiting for Meiko, who does have flash available to him, but you know who doesn't? Uzi. And he's going to try and tank this one up for his AD carry and try and turn this one back, but they can just turn straight onto him. There is a 1-for-nothing trade for the moment. The TP comes in, the Pop Blossom has to be defensive, and immediately into a grab. FoFo just thought he had himself a little bit of a jump opportunity and gets immediately taken out.
That is such a huge play for LNG because once again, it just puts the hammer down towards this bot side of the map. We heard from the interviews before game 1, this game was likely going to come around bot lane advantage. And you can see that Uzi did a great job despite a difficult situation in game 1, but now he's being put behind. Can he do the same when LNG start taking off towards bot side?
Yeah, and look, you could be literally the greatest AD carry in LPL history, but I just don't see that helping out from the mistakes that are coming out from EDG. Again, it's just little things like this that I just feel like are just crippling so much this split.
Come back towards the spot side. As you said, it's the Milio who does have the flash, but doesn't have the chance to use it. Of course, just not able to really get huge value out of it. And LNG, they picked a composition which is meant to punish the Enchanter. The Blitzcrank's part of it. The Maokai can very much help with it too. The hook does not land over the wall this time. Was there no flash? Does get out of that situation safely. Dragon on the board. EDG positioning around it.
EDG looking to continue their presence around this particular objective, but will be difficult to do. Hung getting jumped on now as he goes to get a little bit of a speed boost. Moonlight Vigil doesn't do a huge amount, but it does take out Hung. Now they're going to try and turn back onto Uzi, who's got the grab at him on the Infernal, so he's going to be doing a hell of a lot of damage on this AoE. FoFo goes down once more. The Ornn isn't here just yet. That's actually a stolen hook, but why would you take the Scion of all the carries to go for? He just thought it was too tantalizing. He gets punished because of it.
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Doesn't get the chance to walk away. Zika's tanking up on that one item, and he just does not give a monkeys. Dragon going to be the bonus objective for LNG, and despite EDG having themselves some good things to talk about in regards to FoFo's early leads and maybe their composition scaling better than in the first game, they're starting to fall behind in a pretty awkward way. It was one of the big things we talked about for EDG. Bringing in a single AD carry was not going to solve all of their woes. Uzi, great individual team fighter, but EDG as a whole cohesive unit still have a lot of these flaws they have to work out.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing right now is that just as a unit, this EDG roster is just not looking like it did in spring. I think that, oh my god, that's feather damage coming out on top of the Meiko is disgusting. But the Dragon's still up and available. It is going to be started up here by the Ornn, who will take an eternity to do it. He will do it, but it will take a while to do it. Now we're going to see the Ornn Horn coming out to try and catch out Tarzan, who does have his ultimate to try and disengage. Hook stops the Ornn from getting anything else out of this one. Zika still moving forward. Hung dies again. He's going to be taken out of his team one more time, but now look at Gala, who's just feathers flying forward. FoFo trying to jump in. It's a 3-man Pop Blossom, but they don't have the damage to follow up onto this. Uzi's got no mana. Finally, Ala takes down the Jiejie, trying to reset this fight, but Gala, with the feathers, stops his advance. It's a scrappy affair, but LNG still coming out even, all things considered.
FoFo's Pop Blossom completely saves the day. Scout goes over aggressive. He ends up getting his To the Skies cancelled, looks for an assassination, which he can't finish off, and EDG managed to find themselves a reprieve, very importantly so, because once, at least after one of these fights, Uzi is the one that is alive, and even then LNG are looking to punish that.
Yeah, look already now, Hong saying, I died 3 times, but I'll kill you, Uzi, and that's all that matters. Gala now 2-0-4 on this Xayah. Just showing how crazy good this AD carry is here, regardless of what team he's playing for.
Absolutely. So this fight starts off once again with Hung calling the shots. Clutch route from Uzi stops him getting the instant 100-0 at that point. Plays it very well at the start of this, and that removes an important pick potential from LNG and allows EDG to play around for once some actual decent damage in one of these fights. This was the awkward moment where that's not your priority hook target. He absolutely slaughters you.
Yeah.
Just gets absolutely turned around on.
His ult didn't even break the shield. That was kind of the moment. And again, this was a scrappy moment here where FoFo had to get that Pop Blossom in order to turn this one around, because this could have been LNG to completely ace them.
I think EDG maybe disrespected the fact that Zika could also be in that brush as well. Maybe thought he'd recalled. dangerous moment here. The flash away from Ella saves his life. Watch what Scout does here. They're very close to getting the kill onto Jiejie. The knock-up portion of Nico's ult, though, cancels out the melee form of the Jace. If that had happened a second too late, I think Jace ends up getting away with another kill, and we saw how much damage Scout was already doing. Already threatening to take over this game 2-1-2. Duskblade built up. Clutch team fighter from EDG at least brings back into an even fight.
Just about. There's still LNG in the ascendancy. It's only a couple of 100 gold for sure, but they come out of the replay and they did take away that dragon. You can see in the picture-in-picture, and now FoFo gets silenced, gets not knocked up actually, still will go down. Nice little fancy feat from FoFo, but it was all for naught. And Hog on this Blitzcrank, again, just showing the power of hard engaged support, just showing that once you get caught up on the kind of side lanes, there's just nowhere.
Herald going to be taken down by EDG. It's important for them to try and break up in some part of the map. They're very close to breaking down this mid lane out of turret. Zika takes offense to that, though. Fight starts. Tarzan going forward. They haven't locked down their target yet, and now they have Uzi once again struggling to stand and fight, struggling to DPS, and goes down for trying to overpush in that mid lane. Herald was taken from EDG. Important moment for them. They just overpushed. They split a little too far. LNG collapsed on the fight yet again, and now they will look to take open this mid lane out of turret if they can. Good route there from the Nico. Threatens Gala enough for him to blow his ult, but once again, Uzi really struggling to hold his ground. Seeing ourselves into the resets after this fight. LNG going back to the base. Pretty much their whole unit's going to spend the gold that they have earned from these fights yet again. We're getting ever closer to that second item spike coming in from Scout. This Jace, though it hasn't been as meta as we have seen in spring, is still absolutely primed and ready to pop off when it's all possible.
I'm enjoying your solo cast.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it too. I don't get that much option to
You're covering for me today. You're carrying the cast today. I'm honestly tempted just to let you go, man. Just like, you know what? You go do it. I'm holding you back, right? I just, you're too damn good. You're too damn good.
You've trained me well. You can. It's like we had the blurry camera earlier, and I was almost wondering if you could just put a blue little filter over it, so you could be like Obi-Wan mentoring me into the next phase of my Jedi training.
Yoda on your shoulder, just like play by play. You will be.
it's you finally gone. It's like the first time you see yourself in HD resolution. Is HD? Am I? HDMI? Get it? Yeah.
I get it. You know what? I'll give you the laugh on that one. I'll give you the laugh on that one. I didn't give you the laugh on the other one from the first game or the first game of the second series. But
what, the grasp is greener on the other side? That was classic.
That was good, but it was just like you were looking for it a little too hard, you know? Just similar to EDG in this game as you get that beautiful segue.
True,
it's called professionalism. Coming back into this one, sorry. But again, like EDG trying to find themselves something to come into this one here. Uzi 0 and 3. I mean, it's just been everyone throwing everything at him, and he's trying. Lord knows he's trying, but I mean, there's just only so much you can do. And if it comes down to how EDG are approaching these fights, it does feel like it's a bit more chaotic and not really with a solid plan.
And particularly when you're playing one of these hyper carries, over pushing like that in the mid lane, very difficult. Now LNG are over pushing.
Yeah, they're over pushing. Gala will have to flash as he was just waiting for a couple more seconds for his ult to come back off. But while that was happening, Scout takes almost all of his health bar to the tower that he wanted to kill, but he did get the kill. So in the end of it all, still a trade of a tower for nothing. LNG still getting themselves ahead.
There you are. That mid lane out of turret from EDG is perilously low. And now EDG don't have the ultimate cooldowns to defend it for that next push. Maybe you can look for FoFo playing some minion tricks, some mind tricks across the board. Maybe that can hold LNG to account. You do, however, have the Xayah ultimate primed and ready again, though. That's going to be very difficult for EDG to get their way through, especially since we now have the 2-item spike for Scout very nearly at the Maroon himself.
2,500 gold lead. Dragon apiece. 20 seconds till the next dragon spawns. It is a Cloud Rift, but now Hong using his Hex Splash to be aggressive in this top side. Does recognize, though, that FoFo and Jiejie are here, so doesn't really feel like he can go for that much of a trade back. And quietly is enough, actually. I've noticed there is that Zika picking himself up 2-0 and 2. He's pushing to try and, get himself into a unstoppable fridge in that top side for LNG. I mean, have you tried to stop a fridge? Have you tried to actually stop a fridge if it's falling down the stairs? It's impossible. You can't do it. It's killing you.
Hang on. When have you had to stop a falling fridge down a flight of stairs?
Listen, I'm a busy man, and I have a lot of things that happen in my life, all right? I can't explain everything to you, and you can start by explaining to me why EDG felt the need that they had to drop down this Rift Herald right in the jungle, and I'm assuming that the answer was because it was timing out.
That has to be what I was thinking as well. It does call LNG to respond towards this top side. Dragon has spawned. They could be using this to cross map, but instead it looks like LNG are going to try and respond to it themselves. I don't think the Herald takes it down in one charge. It's going to get close. Indeed it won't. So LNG keep their outer turret for now.
They're out of turret. Come back into the game. It's just so difficult to really see. I can see what EDG want to try and do in these fights, but you look at LNG and how well they're able to kind of disengage this Featherstorm, the Maokai ultimate, even things like the Blitzcrank just kind of being around that if you go too far forward, he can hook you further than you ever want to go. It does feel like it's just difficult for EDG to kind of plant their feet into a fight. They need LNG to run into them and then catch them on the rebound.
Exactly, because if you're walking into a Felios turret or Feathers, it's the same kind of scenario, right? You're looking to play, just peel back slightly for the AD carry so they buy themselves enough space to get some auto attacks and some abilities out. Problem is with LNG, you don't really get to do that against a Maokai and the Jace ultimate. You're walking backwards, but you're still very far away from your opponents. LNG have more than enough ability to control an area of the map if they see fit, and if one of those routes hits, the Blitzcrank follows up too. It's a very dangerous composition to play into from EDG. You're really looking at hopefully Ala to become one of those unkillable frontline champion moments where the Ornn can kind of tank up at least enough of that CC to allow people to fight, but it's going to be a long way off. Let's see how tanky he is.
Let's see how tanky he is. Ala bursted down quite a bit here by the Jace. He's got himself a fair bit of lethality and armor pen built up into his build, so and that Dustbringer as well, and that's the big thing, the new Dustbringer, giving you that in-target ability when you go into it as Scout. Yeah, that's he thought he was in a 1v1. He thought it was an intimate 1v1 with a top laner of EDG, but Jiejie said, nah, that's my man, and you ain't going to be taking nobody into a 1v1.
Okay, important stuff. So, extra kills and extra gold over to the top jungle of EDG. Jiejie. Yeah, and this was the man that really brought EDG into prominence in the spring split. He needs to have another standout game again right now for them to bring LNG to a third game. It's going to be a hard ask, though. Scout, sadly for himself, fought out a couple of times despite his early leads. Just a misread from where he thought the jungler was on the map.
Yep, just wasn't fully aware of people's positioning. Unfortunately, does end up getting caught out and giving over a little bit of gold over to the jungler of EDG. I actually quite like the build we're seeing coming out from Tarzan right now. The Evan Stroud and the, well, I assume will be the Sunfire Aegis very, very soon, because that's kind of all he's kind of really looking to do, is just be a facilitator for the likes of the Xayah and the Jace to really put down the damage. And it also means that, like, again, you're not going to be building any magic resistance on the side of EDG, but also the Maokai is not going to be doing enough really to warrant, you know, kind of building that kind of AP anyway.
I think it makes a lot of sense when you're... I think the killer blow probably comes from a Blitzcrank hook rather than the Maokai getting damage. If you're going for the Aftershock and the tankier build, it helps Hung do his job, which is really what makes Uzi's job very hard to do. It means that Hung doesn't have to throw out hooks willy-nilly. He can hold on to it, wait for CC to land first.
We shall wait. Still only a 2,000 gold lead here. Very much a game of execution coming out from these two sides. Could definitely see EDG coming back into this one here, taking a win if they're able to get, you know, kind of down to the late game, build up 3 items. You've already got the ornaments coming out now for Ala and Uzi, so having those available to you when you go to the super late game can be the difference maker. They're worth about 800 to 1,000 gold each in terms of the extra stats they give you. That kind of equals up with the deficit they're in right now.
Okay, 5-man stack from LNG towards the top side of the map. Baron has spawned. FoFo potentially could have a flank here with a flash over the wall. Dangerous times from LNG. They're trying to get some deep vision down. If they get that down, it makes it much harder for someone like Ala to get into position, and of course Uzi to get into position. In each of these moments, though, you need to be very careful of that Blitzcrank hook.
So for LNG, very risky to fight into a choke like that. Yes, they do have a lot of feathers and accelerated shot blast that can throw it down, but FoFo with that Pop Blossom could do a hell of a lot of work if they are not careful, and the Moonlight Vigil as well. But for the moment, EDG happy to just kind of keep clearing mid lane, as is LNG. They're just holding position around this dragon. And yes, they haven't fully swept it for the moment, but that ward's about to die. So in a minute or two, we're going to have a fully dark side of the map here for EDG, and they will have no choice but to face check.
Well, and also remember, there is a Milio in this game. Gives the fellows the ability to stand and fight a lot better. He's not tanky. That's one thing which Milio isn't. And it does mean now that LNG, again, continuing to just pull EDG into the top side of the map. It's a little slow. EDG reticent to head out of their vision line, understandably. Let's see how much they can do in terms of this map control.
Well, Hung got 100% baited in there. Doesn't have his ultimate, but look, it's a Blitzcrank ult, not the most impactful in the world. So wait for that cooldown to come back up and alive. LNG containing the Baron pit for the moment. Look at all this vision. They will burn this down so quickly. EDG have to face check. They have to move forward and check this one here. Look at all those little squires in the backside there trying to catch somebody out. But this Baron's already been taken so low. Meiko's almost dead from that one accelerated shock blast. Gala and Tarzan staying on this with Scout. They will not be able to get a 50-50 because EDG did not get themselves into the fight. There's going to be a good hook there onto Ala to stop him from really re-engaging. And that's just straight up vision control that gave LNG the Baron.
Well, it's a bit of a slow setup, but it is effective nonetheless. No flanks came in from EDG. They didn't have the vision behind them or to the side of me that to find themselves an angle. Now, big power play potentially from LNG if they can take down some inner turrets. Of course, inner turrets are worth a lot of gold. And hopefully with that for them, they can push EDG away from the next dragon, spawning the next 20 seconds. It's going to be a bit of a quick setup for LNG, if at all. I think EDG, this is the time for them to strike. If they want to fight for that dragon, it wouldn't be sold out. They could choose to give it up. Back out onto the map, LNG go. EDG doesn't look like they're going for that contest after all. Again, they have on items they can wait on. They have item completions that they can wait on. They're not at 3 items for Uzi just yet. And of course, when you're fighting frontline, that Lord Dominic's regards would be hugely valuable for him. Instead, LNG, they're looking to siege. They're not going immediately towards the dragon, pulling the bluff. Blitzcrank hook under tower is very powerful. Maokai on cooldown, but when that comes up, it gives you almost a guaranteed Blitzcrank hook to play around. Once again, Meiko gets hit.
Yeah. So much damage being thrown out here from LNG, and I mean, you can have a Milio, Velios, you can have Nico, a lot of different OPs on the side of EDG, but it does not matter when the Jace is doing this amount of work. You just cannot hold a candle to the torrent of damage that's being thrown ahead on top of you there. So really curious. And like you said, they have the Blitzcrank. All it takes is one decent hook to be the killer blow. You don't necessarily need any of this else because you've just got so many, you know, things that you're at your disposal to be able to make work for your team.
It's great to see this from LNG as well. We had a couple of questions about them in summer, you know, after their spring collapse in playoffs where they really fell apart, sadly, for them. What was going to happen to them? Now they have themselves a good combo. They're playing out these competitions very cohesively. They have to disengage.
Yeah, they're going to have to disengage. Gala doesn't even flinch. Flash, Ghost, and ult all kept under wraps. Now they can throw out the ultimate from the Maokai to try and see if they can burn down this tower.
Going to be able to do so. So, oh, Uzi forces out the ultimate. Big ultimate teleport for the flank. This could be the moment. FoFo has the flash and has the damage, but he's taken away from Gala. The Xayah lives. The disengage comes through once more. LNG put the phalanx up and they walk away. Spears still pointed at EDG. That felt like the moment, but they're not able to punch back.
Not quite able to do it. Great play-by-playing there from you, Nymeara.
Thank you.
Absolutely delighted for you. Needed to give you, you know what I said, you know what, I thought to myself, I was like, you know, it would be a big test, a big 5v5 team fight late in the game. And you did exceptional. Congratulations to you. But LNG, as you mentioned, get the kill, they disengage, and they get themselves on the soul point. While that's happening, they're just going to force the TP out of Ala as well to try and cover that Zika was covering into the top side.
Really crazy, though, that it felt like FoFo was absolutely going to murder Gala. We'll see that a little bit into this replay, I have to assume. So it's a little bit hard to put the Blitzcrank out hook under turret when, of course, the Ornn can go unstoppable. After this point, you feel like this is the moment where EDG are going to get themselves back in the game. You have huge amounts of damage. Gala goes down to solo HP. If anything hits from FoFo, that is a dead Xayah. Flashes out and hooks away from the damage portion of the Nico ult. I've not seen that before. It's a clutch moment and it saves Gala's life.
I mean, this is just LNG playing like LNG have been, you know, for most of spring regular split. Again, putting themselves up with this victory if they're able to secure it to 5-2, alongside the likes of, you know, top esports, JDG, Weibo. These are the names that we talk about so often when it comes to these, you know, this league. And I mean, we talked about a little bit earlier is that we only get to send 4 people to international, and it does feel like...
It feels like a travesty.
it does feel like a travesty. Like, it really, really does. But then at the end of the day, for me, LNG are one of those teams that could maybe go to the Worlds, could also miss it very easily as well.
It does feel that way, particularly in spring. I thought they were a top 2 team. I loved the way that Tarzan and Scout played as a mid-jungle, and you can tell the power that these two have. They are one of our very best mid-jungles in the LPL, maybe even in the world. It's been a bit of a slow closeout from LNG again. It's very hard to go into the Ophelos with the Milio on top of him. That Enchanter, the primary Enchanter right now, very strong.
Not quite able to land that hook there. Almost landed on the Jiejie, who is fairly tanky in his own right, but for the moment, LNG still holding it. And that's the thing, is that LNG not only have themselves a very similar teamfight composition in terms of, like, you know, having a front-to-back teamfight with the tanks and everything like that, but they have the added extra of a Blitzcrank. They have the added extra of the poke that can come out from this Jace and just burn out someone like the Meikos, or someone like Meiko on the Milio. So it just feels like their composition does everything that EDG's does, and a little bit more.
And they've definitely been playing it that way. The gold advantage certainly helps. It means that EDG can't brute force their way into as many fights as they would like. They have on items that helps.
Uzi!
With the hook line to Uzi!
Oh, that's all they needed! Fantastic hook there from Hong. And that means that you don't really have the damage to continue this fight. 2-man decimating smash into the knockback of FoFo. He will have nothing to do with this fight. Scout with the triple. 5-0-6 under Gala, but my MVP is going to be Hong on the Blitzcrank.
That was a hook from the heavens. Hang, draw, and quarter 'em. EDG, they've just been blown out 2-0 by LNG. First game, they had the soul. Felt like they could team fight their way to a victory, but LNG weren't going to let them have it. They're not going to let Allah have his life as well. LNG, they're back on form, baby, and they're walking in towards the Nexus.
Massive 2-0 victory here for LNG. And Gala says, I wasn't your understudy, Uzi. I was your replacement. That is a definitive win here for the side of LNG as they look to continue themselves up to the top of the table.
It took a little while in both games. I think that's testament to the level of team fighting which EDG do display, particularly Uzi. You can't ever let him get into a pocket of space to turn around and auto-attack you. And even in that game, you could feel that for the